our second movie this week is just as strange as Squeal, but for different reasons. House of Darkness from 2022. There's probably 10 or 15 movies called House of Darkness, but this is a new movie with Justin Long and Kate Bosworth. It's about a man who picks up a woman at a bar, gives her a ride home. She invites him in, and he thinks he knows where this is headed. And it's pretty sexy and it's pretty darkly lit, but as expected, this is a horror movie. Things don't quite turn out as he expects. So last week we talked about Old Man, another Old Man reference here. Had single setting, two people talking. And last week, like you said, movies are talkies or they're deweys, and the Old Man's a talkie. This one has a lot of talking going on, and so risky, very risky. But I thought they pulled it off very well.
Really great setup. I think, and then let's just, hadn't seen Kate Bosworth in a minute. I know you guys have just recently watched them, but it took me a minute to even recognize her. And we've talked. I'm a Justin Long fan. I think he can be very good. And so the initial setup, I'm loving it. You know, I dark house in the countryside, awkward conversation. You know, it's already kind of a little cat and mouse game going on. I liked it. I like the setup.
Yeah. And she's definitely got the upper hand on him because she's
the cat.
She absolutely, like, he's like going with his dad jokes. He's trying to spit game, not so good at it. No. he's reeling. She's like rope-a-doping him the whole time.
And he's creeped out by being at her house. Just by being in the countryside, it freaks him out because it's dark, and he tells you, I'm a city guy. I feel safer in the city. There's lights everywhere and brick buildings. He's a little bit uneasy being in the country in nature.
He's overwhelmed, and he just keeps getting more overwhelmed because we don't see initially how they met, but based on what he says, he's overwhelmed by her beauty. The conversation is free flowing. They talk about that. Then he sees this amazing mansion / castle / estate. This beautiful place. So it just keeps. Then it turns out she's rich and she has multiple homes, and it looks like she's down to clown. He certainly is. He's calling his friends, talking about how he's going to give them all the details. Like, I mean, all these little things are adding up, and I thought it was well done. Like, because this could have been super boring, but I liked the way it was done.
I liked it too, and it would have been super boring, but Kate Bosworth is being so extremely weird that you can totally relate to Justin Long's character. Just kind of bumbling and stuttering and not kind of knowing the right thing to say because she's not really giving him anything, and he's just kind of falling and tripping all over himself. And it's actually cringy is the right word for it. It's very cringy, I would say, for the most part, and difficult to watch in a way, but very extremely well done, and it poses many questions in the first just few minutes.
Yeah, the tension that's developed just within their conversation alone and in the atmosphere. It's a dark, creepy castle. I mean, she's got a fire going, but yet there's shadows and he thinks he sees things. So we already have like the gothic atmosphere set up. The way she's dressed too, it's just very like of a Hammer film itself. But then you also have just sort of like the conversation. She's being, like you said, she's being so weird. And the conversation is not like your typical conversation. It's not typical get to know you stuff. What's your favorite movie? It's very personal, and it's very invasive. It's extremely blunt. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I can speak for all of us that we're all driving mutants and we believe in blood, beast, and breast. And what's happening here with the setup is that we're waiting for one of those things to happen. Right?
Yeah.
So, spoiler warning for this movie because it's really easy to spoil it. So we will talk about details. We'll do everything that we can to make sure that no one's enjoyment is ruined of it. But just heads up, we're going to go into some of the details of this movie. So especially if you're a horror fan, like you'll know very quickly where this is going to head. Like it's just a matter of when it's going to get there. If you're not a horror fan, thank you for listening to our podcast.
Right. Yeah, what are you doing here?
You might learn something cool. But it's they reveal, I would say, pretty early without outright saying. They reveal what's going on.
Mhm.
And it ended up working for me because I'm thinking like, okay, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And the movie keeps like dragging it out and dragging it out and dragging it out. Again, very risky and not always the best idea, but they managed to get just conversation going and going and going and going on this.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a real throwback of a flick, and there's there's like some breadcrumbing, and like what I kind of enjoyed is they kind of leave him to his own devices, just enough to like dig himself huge holes, and so the whole time that you're watching him interact, that there are moments where like you're just like, dude, you have to kind of just shut the fuck up. Like, if you were gonna have any chance of getting out of this, okay, whatever this is, you need to quit talking probably. And he never does. So, and that's not a spoiler. But that's the kind of the driving force, is just kind of like this like nonstop fucking word vomit that Justin Long is able to just keep going. Like he had to have been hoarse at the end of filming days, because he literally is just, he's nervously, because I do the same shit. When I'm nervous, I just keep talking. And so like I totally related to that actually.
Well, what I like about the movie too is like, you get all these creepy hints, and the movie, like we were saying, all these little breadcrumbs are there leading you to like where you think the movie's gonna go. But also the great thing about what's going on between the interaction is that it really is open to anything can happen. It looks like it's gonna go one way, and you're pretty sure it's gonna go this way, but you're like, well, you know what? Maybe he's just that terrible, and maybe she's just that weird. So because it's very possible, she lives alone in the country. It's very easy to be weird when you're alone, right? Isolation does crazy things to you. So their interaction is, I think, the best part of the film. It's very natural, and it's very awkward and strange. And the fact that those two come off as such big weirdos makes the movie so much fun to watch. It's funny, but it's also very uncomfortable at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
There's lots of tension in it because, like you said, Justin Long keeps on talking and he keeps on talking. And the more he talks, the more he doesn't seem like he's getting any more comfortable, because things are kind of getting weirder. But he's being more bold with the things that he's saying. He's saying just like, he's just being dumb. He's saying dumber and dumber stuff, to where he's making just the craziest assumptions at the end of the movie. Why would you think that? Like,
he calls her a bunny at one point, and that's just like, why would you just call anybody a bunny?
yeah. He's just doing all these weird things. Like, it's so, and that was kind of part of it. It's like part of the tension and the fun of the movie was seeing what Justin Long was going to say next, because he was such an idiot.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, and I couldn't really imagine anybody else playing this role. Like he did such a pretty great job in it that I don't know exactly who else I could imagine pulling that kind of like obnoxious nonstop talking. Maybe one of like the Workaholics guys.
And the thing is, like, his character is so, anyone else would be just straight up douchey, but Justin Long kind of adds like a vulnerability to it, so it's just kind of like awkward and silly. But even though it's like, we've probably all met somebody like that. Like,
oh yeah, I would say his name on this podcast if I didn't know he listened to it.
Justin Long, the character is like, it would be a douche, but he's kind of so pitiful that you're like you said in the beginning, it's cringy. You're like, oh, I don't want to watch this, but I feel sorry for him.
Right. No, it goes, you kind of have this arc with him where it's like, oh God, I can't wait for some bad shit to happen to this guy. And then you kind of go through like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's not, he's being led along here. And then by the end of it, where he's maybe kind of at his wit's end, he's kind of sympathetic at that point. You're like, yeah, no, this is you've been through a lot, bro.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, like, I'm going through the same arc, and then at the end, when shit's about to go down, I was like, Deserves it. Like, that's he's had his chances. He could have walked away. He could have made different decisions and said different things, but he decided to go the route he did. So whatever happens next, it's on him.
Love it.
Yeah, kind of a theme. Same with the last guy. You keep going back, it's on you.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Yeah, there's our thing. Guys who go back.
So this movie, like, and we've had a bunch of movies on here that there's an underlying message to it, and sometimes it just hammers it home. Some of them are a little more subtle. This one, there's a message in there, kind of flips the script a little bit, but I think it's weaved in really well with like the horror that the movie's telling. So I thought that the actual story, the horror, it takes center stage, and then once it's all over, you're like, oh, I see. There's a message to it all, and I love the way that was incorporated.
Yeah, I mean, how oftentimes does that not work?
Yeah.
Way more often than I think it does. And this movie, again, it's funny how well there's so much more to this movie than what we're saying, and by having all of the depth that it does, it kind of it allows for that a little bit more, and it interwovenly pretty beautifully there at the end. So yeah, good on it.
Yeah, because you change a couple of words, because he has a phone conversation at one point. You change some words there. He makes some different decisions. He's a little more aggressive. You have a different movie that's kind of in your face with stuff, and that subtlety is what makes it bearable, honestly, for the length of time, because you start going a little more hard with that, and it becomes really abrasive and grating. So this ending, and we won't, no details at all. Like I'll just say the ending, very satisfying. Complete opposite of the last one. I like the way things came around in this one.
Yeah, it wrapped up in a I wouldn't say unpredictable way, but yeah, but nice, tight. Another thing about both these movies this week, and this one in particular, really nice clip of pacing. Nice little runtime, doesn't overstay its welcome, and that's more important to me than anything these days. Is let's not overstay our welcome. And this, really nice, tight wrap up.
We just watched Elvis, which was close to 3 hours.
Ooh, oh my god!
So, yeah, I appreciate movies that have 84-minute runtime, 92 minutes. Like, I'm so appreciative of all the filmmakers who keep it when it's only 2 digits in the runtime. Like, I like that. Like 60 minutes, 45 minutes even.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Real quick, Elvis, C or no C?
C.
Yeah, I would say
bunkers.
C.
Okay, right.
But I will say this: not enough fat Elvis.
Ah, shit! I was hoping you were like, dude, it's like half fat Elvis.
I wish. maybe 2 minutes.
Put that real handsome guy in a fat suit for half the movie. That fits everybody.
Hey, Christian Bale did it.
Yeah, it's true.
So House of Darkness, Blake, the 2022 version, C or no C?
2022 House of Darkness. See this movie. I think it's being released about the same time as this podcast is going to be released. So I think you should definitely check this out. It's a real fun, bite-sized flick.
Regina, C or no C, House of Darkness?
See House of Darkness. Definitely see if you like horror movies. See if you just like movies about really awkward dates. You should see if you just like movies with Justin Long and Kate Bosworth. Check it out. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and House of Darkness, like Blake said, it's out right now in select theaters. And as most things nowadays, if you're going to be in theaters, you're also going to be available streaming. So definitely check it out. It's a different type of horror movie, but well worth your time.